Bluelock's U20 World Cup is right around the corner, and every player has started preparing for the big day. Ego assigned each of them their own unique tasks that only they know about. Some trainings are pretty self-explanatory, and others are some of the most ridiculous tasks ever. There is no ball in sight. But we know one thing with Ego though, it will always relate to football, even if it's the most outlandish, out-of-the-world training ever. So I want to go over every single player's training routine, explaining the meaning behind it and how it will help them for the upcoming U20 World Cup. Because I think this chapter really gave us a hint on what power-ups each of our boys will be getting, and that's super exciting, so let's jump into it quick. I'm gonna start in chronological order from when they first appeared. The first player we see training is Isagi, who received a box with a bunch of discs and a plane ticket. His note said to learn about soccer with the key to his next evolution is in here, and we see from the discs it was learning about game-changing moments. Though this one was a little spelled out for us, Isagi's gonna focus on his playmaking and creating those goal opportunities. He did also mention the ideas of traps, passes, and dribbles that add a new stimulus to the field. It may be exactly that, where we see Isagi work on those skills to be able to kind of change the game by himself. Honestly speaking, he was kind of doing that during the NEL, but it looks like he'll improve that even more. I know that one of the biggest arguments is that Rin is a better solo player than Isagi. He can make kind of those game-changing moments by himself, so this improves Isagi so he can keep up with Rin, which I think is very smart. There's also the plane ticket, which I think will take him to meet a new Gen 11 or a new character. It's been speculated that Isagi will go to Spain, which is exciting. Regardless, Isagi will come out 100% stronger from this training. Isagi's was a little self-explanatory, but compared to our next player, Barou's, his is a little more out there. His note tells him go somewhere if he wants to be a king again. Literally, Ego put this in a riddle me this format, so this one needs a little bit more analysis. When Barou goes to the location Ego sent, he meets American football players, and factoring in that note as well, I think he's gonna improve on two things. That's his physique and also teamwork. American football physique is known to be way more bulkier, and you can just tell by this panel of them being shown. So Barou might be improving his physique and just charging skills to get past the team by himself. That could be how it relates to being a king, or it could be the teamwork aspect where he learns to lead the team as a king or be a king in a team environment. Both kind of make sense. I could definitely see Barou using some American football techniques to get through the team, and we saw in Ubers that Barou led a team by force before. Next up is Batra, and they sent him to an elementary school. Now, what does Ego mean by this? Is he trying to say Batra is dumb as hell? Honestly, with some of the stuff he be saying, I kind of see it, but it's Batra, man. We all love him. Anyways, his note says to learn by teaching. I think this will tap more into Batra's creative side, as he teaches kids with wilder imagination and ideas, so he can learn from that. Batra is centered around creativity, so it's improving what he has already. I think this is a genius play by Ego. Next is Chigiri, who threw away his legs and became a fish. Not gonna lie, only Ego would say this sentence. This is an original sentence. His was very obvious. It literally told us to acquire a heart and lungs that can endure his speed, so working on his stamina. Stamina is probably Chigiri's weakest point, but we already know that. The grass is green. He has the 44 Panther Snipe. He has the speed. He just needs to work on stamina to keep up with his skills. Next up is Kunigami, who is scrapping, literally throwing hands. As his letter says, the answer lies in battle. Become the ultimate combat warrior. That is right, folks. Kunigami is training to box a Loki in the World Cup. Nah, I'm just kidding. It seems to be some sort of martial art where he can learn to control his power and whatnot, specifically to win those 1v1s. Arguably, Kunigami's best game was PXG when he kept winning against Shido, so Ego is taking advantage of that. He's improving his physical skills to win a 1v1 every time. This will allow him to get the ball more, as well as effectively use his physique, and this is skills from martial arts itself, like footwork, timing, all that stuff. We're in desperate need of a Kunigami buff, so I hope they gave him everything. Like, he came into the NEL as the worst of the Egoist 4, and he came out of the NEL as the worst of the Egoist 4. And I like Kunigami, man, so I really hope that they do buff him. I think there's still a lot of potential with him, so I can't wait to see how this training helps him. God knows what Shido is doing skydiving, man. This panel still has me dead. This might be a top 10 Bluelock panel of all time. Looking into it deeper, though, his letter talks about doing everything on his bucket list, which my first thought goes to Shido's his freedom. He's a very freedom-based player. It was in his whole speech during the U20 game before his goal, and I think by giving him more freedom to do whatever he wants, it'll help him play better. That's honestly the best I can come up with because it's hard to get anything else from this guy skydiving and saying Mamma Mia. Itoshi Rin is the next player, and we see him in a temple meditating with his letter telling him to reflect on his ego. As he thinks about Sai and Isagi, he gets whacked by an old man, and the rest of the letter talks about his desire not relying on pure destruction. This one is a pretty obvious one, but I think it's a very important one. Ego doesn't want Rin to rely solely on destroyer mode and beating Sai and Isagi. That's also the reason why the old man is whacking him every time he thinks of them, literally thinking about them like 50 times, which is crazy if you think about it. Again, rent-free. But if Rin is learning to not rely on destroyer mode, that opens up a few options. One is he masters his regular water mode, basically what we see when he's not using destroyer mode. Even then, Rin is already pretty strong in that mode. Second selection, he was the final boss. He made a goal during the U20, all without relying on destroyer mode. It's obviously not as good though, so Ego wants him to bring it up to his other half, and this opens up a lot of other options, like him being able to switch between and use his water mode alongside the destroyer mode. We've only seen one being used at a time, which sounds so ridiculously broken. Itoshi Rin is about to be even more overpowered, which is why I say this training is one of the most important ones. Another option is him just gaining a whole new mode where he's just able to calm down more, hence the meditating and not thinking about destruction. Bro just might gain a third mode, a transcendence mode. I don't even know at this point. Either way, I think Rin's training was one of the more interesting ones that we saw. Ryo is next, and he has, in my opinion, the most exciting training and letter from Ego, which tells him that he is Bluelock Special Soldier, become the master copy of all remaining players, and there is still a path to the #1 for him. They even got Ego hyping up Ryo. Ryo is about to become Yuta Okatsu. With Nagi no longer here, he's gonna have to do everything by himself. This one is a pretty self-explanatory one too. I don't need to write it out, but I think the lengths it can go can really make Ryo a good contender for the #1 spot. He's already underrated as is, and now with Nagi telling him to become the #1, Ego telling him he still has a path, he's definitely gonna get some buffs and development. So by copying all 23 players, I think he's gonna mix everyone's playstyle together consecutively. Like he'll use Atoya's off the ball to get past the player, into Batra's dribbling, and finish it off with Rin's curve shots. We sort of saw this in the Manshine game with Chameleon Striker mode. I think Ryo is a very underrated character going into this arc, and I think if there's one person we should really pay attention to, it's definitely him. I think all the players that got a separate panel are gonna get a lot of focus. Up until now, they've been main characters besides maybe Ryo, but that's not to say that all the others won't get any. The next training we see are all the players, and starting from the top, Atoya is in the spatial awareness machine. Y'all, he is not in a VR chat. I saw so many people talking about that. Atoya is basically improving what he has already with off the ball. I think he can do more as well. He placed well in salaries and also beat Chris Prince that one time. So going into the U20 World Cup, he might get a little more focus or a little more screen time. If they're having trouble breaking through defenses, they can always use his off the ball. Karasu is next, and that boy is on that David Goggins run. But for real, it looks like Karasu is training his stamina, doing sprints, which makes a lot of sense for him. When we see him play, he's almost everywhere from defense and offense, balancing between those two, so it makes sense if he's working on his stamina so he can keep doing that. Kiora is doing parkour, and I'm actually kind of excited for this. I know Kiora put up a literal nothing sandwich besides 1 assist in the PXG game, but during episode Nagi, he was breakdancing and was very good with his movement. So by seeing him doing parkour, it's hinting towards that episode Nagi counterpart, or at least I think so. I'm at least hyped to see him use it here with the parkour moves. Kiora would actually have some relevance to the story if he did, so this could be a good sign for the 1 or 2 Kiora fans. Raichi is the next player, and he is doing wrestling. This is good for his man-marking skills, which is his signature at this point. Corona is running alongside dogs, and what is Ego even making these players do, man? Is this like a thing, a dog running club? It kind of sounds fire. I kind of want to do it. Anyways, this is another simple one, working on his stamina. This is his biggest weakness as we saw in the NEL when he got subbed out. So just working a little bit on that. We jump over to Ryu, who is doing judo, which I think will help him with his timing and spacing, especially since he has those long limbs. I hope that this is an actual good buff for him. He's kind of just in the middle right now when it comes to his impact on a game, so I think he is in very need of some good buffs. And I'm sure y'all know it by now, Sendou's ridiculous panel of him with a rifle in the bushes. What could this possibly mean? There is no ball in sight. It's funny because I even saw this panel reach non-Bluelock fans, and they are just as confused as we are. At this point, maybe the letter told Sendou to go to the front lines and practice his shots. I don't even know. I like how Ego sent some of the players to a literal elementary school or to do some swimming, basic stuff, you know? But Sendou got sent to Nuketown to practice? Nah, but for real, I think there's a deeper meaning behind this. I don't know. I don't want to really look too deep into it. It's probably relating to precision and timing if I had to take a guess. I mean, accuracy as well, but he's not kicking a ball, so it's definitely precision and timing, like waiting for the perfect moment to strike, which keep in mind, this is how he scored in the NEL, which I think this could mean two things. He just moves to more of a poacher role, or he gets Predator's Eye to focus on just the goal. As bonkers as this panel is, and as funny as it is, I think this is the true meaning behind it, and if that's the case, then we might actually see Sendou score some goals. I'm curious whether y'all think Sendou will score a goal or not in the World Cup. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of formations and Sendou could be in there, and his rifle training could pay off. Who knows? That doesn't even sound like Bluelock anymore. Anyways, we move on to the next person, Nanase working on his ambidextrous skills by using 2 chopsticks at the same time. Y'all don't even need me to explain this. He's working on being more comfortable with it. His ambidexterity actually helped Rin a bit, so I'm curious to see him using it more. We move on to the next page, and we got Hiyori Gaming, I think. Now, this is probably the one that's the most challenging. If I had to take a guess, I think the game is either helping him with his reflexes or his reaction time. I guess since most video games do require both of those skills. Or Hiyori may just be watching game tapes like Isagi. We know he is an analytical player or smart like Isagi. He thinks like him, in which case then we don't know what he's watching. So Hiyori's training is a little bit mysterious, but that's the best we can go off of. Nico is doing strength training, which makes sense. He is the youngest of the Bluelockers, so he's trying to catch up and get a better physique. So this will allow him to do way more in terms of defending, or having a body that can keep up with his plays. Sort of like how Isagi was in the Manshine match when he said he wished he could train right now because his body can't keep up with what he's thinking. Gagamaru is playing baseball, working on his reflexes for goalkeeping. This is a very obvious one. Fukaku Gen's training is him praying that he's gonna keep making it through Bluelock without him doing anything. Yukimiya's training is most likely for his blind spot in his eyes. As we can see, one of his eyes are blocked out while he's using a kendo. Even though his condition is unavoidable, Ego is basically having him work with it, replicating those conditions. As well as kendo can help him with concentrating and overall mental focus, something we know Yukimiya needs in-game. We do not need bro getting rage-baited mid-U20 match like in the Manshine match. Aiku is reading a book and taking notes on sports administration, which just leads me to believe he's gonna be the captain of the Japan U20. Just like any administration job, you're basically managing your team, and with his past experience as the U20 captain, it just makes sense. Lastly, we got Zantetsu, who is doing track and field, working on his sprints or acceleration, it looks like. Yet again, improving on what he has already. Yes, everyone, I know there is no ball in sight for any of these training sessions, but all of this training is still helpful to the players, even the outlandish ones like Sendou and Shido. Like, I can't even believe this is a canonical panel in Bluelock. However, it just proves that Ego will still find a way to help his players even without straight-on football practice. I'm very excited to see where this training will take them and how strong they will be the next time we'll see them. Ego did hint at the end of the chapter that everyone is going for the #1 spot. It was said that they all want to be the protagonists, and they're gonna meet in 14 days. I've been saying, and I'm hoping that they do a little match between the Bluelockers. It'd be a great way to highlight everyone's different training and how they improved. We haven't gotten a full 11 versus 11, a Bluelock versus Bluelock match before too, and that way they can decide positions while they're at it. I also think a lot of people would enjoy seeing that. I know I would, even if that meant delaying the U20 World Cup just for a bit. Keep in mind, there is still like 45 more days, something like that. They still have a lot of time to pass. Anyways, let me know if you agree or disagree with what I think their trainings are, or if you have any different observations or interpretations. This is just what I observed, as well as I gotta give thanks to my chat. We made some of these predictions together on stream right when the chapter dropped, so I gotta give a special special thanks to y'all as well. If you made it to the end though, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see y'all in the next one.